Okay, let's take a look and see where this week's celestial dance is going to take us. I'm going to basically pull up the chart right away because that is what is going to be required, is that we're really paying attention to what is this celestial dance asking us to, tune into. I think probably is a good term. And right off the bat, the very first thing, it's Monday morning. Monday is a moon day. Monday, moon day. And this is that every other week. The moon goes out of bounds today. Are you paying attention? Do you feel privileged? Are there unrestrained or extreme things that are drawing your attention? Do you feel independent or wild in how you feel? That is the moon dance anyway. And the moon goes into Sagittarius today. It's not inclined from just the fact of it being in Sagittarius to think small. So the out of bounds that arrives today says, I don't know any limits. Woo! There's an energy there that beckons us to, think out of the box in ways that we haven't really feel out of the box. This is the energy that's in play Monday through Friday this week. And since if we go to Tuesday, new moon happens here at 20 degrees of Sagittarius, and you will notice that simultaneously Mercury, which has been, essentially plodding along, it's been slowing down recently. This S that you see right here below it, that means stop, station, slow down. Well, tomorrow, Mercury stops and begins its retrograde dance until early January. So that new moon that is coming on board for us to set our intentions with tomorrow on Tuesday it's likely to require perspective from us that may seem elusive. There's a dance going on that right now. The thinking process is Mercury stopping and going into retrograde. Initially, the stop, moment when a planet stations at a particular degree, there's a focus, and this particular focus brings into account what is it that this Sagittarian aspiration for more might be inclined to inspire within me, setting an intention for where can I go? How can I expand my level of awareness to the next level? That's the question. Mercury going into retrograde on the same day. This is where, the rub is, what is it that might be beneficial for me to aim toward for this next lunar month dance? The Sabian symbol for this particular degree of the new moon reads, a child and a dog wearing borrowed eyeglasses. And the keynote, the use of imagination and make believe in anticipating higher stages of development. This is further This is from Dane Rogers, An Astrological Mandala, talking about these Sabian symbols. This rather peculiar symbol seems to imply here that, and by imitating, features belonging to a level of consciousness as yet unreachable, the process of growth may be accelerated. Eyeglasses symbolize intellectual development. I don't know about that one, but I do remember, experiencing some of that for the kids who had glasses when I was going to school. The chiefs of primitive tribes, in some instances, have sought to impress their people by wearing spectacles without glass or Western hats, simply because these objects seem characteristic of a race of superior people. What a bunch of hooey. This is similar to the process of growth by identification with a master or a guru. Guru spelled G-U-R-U. There's a key in that. That master, that guru that you are looking for. G-U-R-U. Look within. It's all right there. In a sense, it is mere pretending or make believe, yet by wearing the mask of a god, the medicine man at the time becomes, for all practical purposes, the incarnation of the god. Growth is always a hierarchical process, even if the growing entity is not aware of it. This suggests the value of learning through imitation. There's that Sabian symbol that, you can mold that around, in this idea of, attainment for the more. Might we be able to, this month in the lunar dance, be able to, play with our imaginations and, tune into aspects of creativity that beckon us to take that next step into an area that we may not be comfortable with because we can't see it yet. It is there, though. And I would also include at this moment, I forgot to mention this last week, but Neptune, planet of creative imagination with no limits, stationed and is now going direct. That was on the 6th last week. Down here in Pisces, the realm of the unlimited, Sagittarius, unlimited frontier, the unlimited frontier that we can, see and possibly attain. Pisces is an unlimited frontier that, that requires work of a different nature, a change in our perspective of how we fit into the greater matrix of what life, of what our soul in life set out to accomplish in the current incarnation that we are dancing through. Now, our Mercury dance. You can kind of see it's at 27. If I go to the next day, Wednesday, you see the S's change to red. We've gone 1 minute further into the movement of Mercury forward, but it's not going any further forward. It's going to retreat backwards all the way into Sagittarius. I'm not sure what degree it goes back to, but it looks like it, if we look real carefully, it goes back to about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 degrees. 5 degrees. Wait a second, that doesn't make sense, does it? Oh, looking at the wrong planet. That does make a difference. It goes back to 23, possibly 22 degrees of Sagittarius before it turns direct again, which puts it really close to the degree of the new moon right here that's happening at 21 degrees. Actually, it happens at 20 degrees. Very close. Now, the twist. Oh, yeah, always a twist. Mercury, remember, we've been talking about this for a while now. Mercury's been also out of bounds. As it begins its retrograde motion, it's still out of bounds. So, oftentimes the mercurial retrograde time is an excellent time to really look into factors that you are interested in, discovering more of. And Mercury out of bounds is saying, are you trying to limit what it is that you're intrigued by? Because I'm out of bounds, I'm going to, inspire you to, don't hold back. So this Mercury retrograde cycle begins. Mercury's still out of bounds. That sets in motion a very unique level of how we think and what are our communication aims being, spun toward. What more is available to consider when I do this retrograde dance this month for 3 weeks, going back through the beginning of Capricorn and back into Sagittarius? The penchant of Capricorn to really, demonstrate some level of, achievement or structure. I think of Capricorn as, what mountain are you attempting to climb? And now with this Mercury going retrograde in Capricorn, you have to ask yourself, am I climbing the right or the appropriate mountain? Because there's lots of mountains that we could aim for. You have to ask yourself, am I on the right one? Mercury going retrograde, right at the time of this new moon and out of bounds, and the moon out of bounds at the same time. This is a good time to really ponder on this, and this may be an excellent focal point to initiate this next lunar cycle. How is your mountain climb process going? Because during this next lunar cycle, the sun is going to be going into Capricorn as well. And so making sure that you are climbing the correct mountain or hill that you're supposed to be on could prove very beneficial. There's I'm going to go back to something, and this is just a kind of like extra offering for this week. I brought it up initially last week. This was Venus over here going into Scorpio. Venus, art. There's a good term for Venus. Scorpio, death. One of the handles that Scorpio can lean into. Back along the way, when I was first initiated into a particular spiritual organization back in the 70s, one of the, I think a book, but more than a book, but an archetypal directive that was being shared was this idea called the art of living. Well, my, excuse me, my tangent, if that is really what it is, moon out of bounds, I don't feel like I need to stay within any kind of box. Mercury out of bounds. What I'm going to say might push hard at the, that the parameters of what it is that, often we don't generally consider speaking or thinking about. In this case, Venus in Scorpio. It's going to be there for a couple more weeks. The art of dying. Now, we have two factors that I've just brought up. The art of living, the art of dying. In our modern culture, death is something that is painted or portrayed and couched within the realm of fear. I would invite you to follow me outside of the box and consider that death really is nothing to fear. One of my shamanic teachers has always said, one of the ideals to aim for in the shamanic process is to get out of life alive. Ooh, now there's a process. This actually does away completely with the idea of death being a terminal quality of what it is our soul goes through. It is not. It is just another step into an adventure that, I've been toying with this for weeks now. How to bring up in an effective enough way this process of the art of dying. Dying well, in other words. Not, curled up in a fearful ball, afraid of what is going to be next, but willingly exposing yourself to something that is new, or is it something that is old that we already know that is transpiring, and we have been through this through many incarnations before and will continue to do this. That dance of what happens to the soul as we transition. And I was thinking about that experience or that expression of transition. Often, I've used it as well. Say, somebody has passed away. Well, I've had 4 people on my wavelength over the past month start this process. I'm using it a little different, of transition. And because transition is more of a, not a noun, but a verb. And it has more of a longevity factor to it than I think we really give it merit. transition is a process whereby I have let go of this physical being that my soul occupied for a season in the earth walk. And I'm now ready to go actually back into the realm where soul is allowed to, reintegrate itself into a level of soul awareness with many versions of soul awareness. Most people do not get the insight of how enormous the realm of soul really is. It's not possible to even begin to count the unbelievably enormity of souls that occupy this zone beyond physical death. A tree in the forest often, if left alone, exists for a longer time sequence than we as physical humans will occupy in the dance that we do as a soul engulfed within a body. Wood. Knock on wood. You've all heard that expression, knock on wood. Well, back in the day, I think it was up in the Norse countries, when you knocked on a tree, it was to recognize the being that a tree is, to get information, and to share in the insight of the longevity that a tree represents, that actually life represents. So the next time you find yourself in a forest, don't hesitate to knock and say hello to a being that is likely to outlive your physical here on the planet. And if you listen real closely to the sound of the wind blowing through the branches, you might be able to hear a language. There is communication going on. You've heard me mention that the planets themselves are in communication all the time. And as an astrologer, the idea is to pay attention, listen closely. Go back to the tree, the wind coming through its branches. messages. We're doing a communication thing. Mercury going retrograde this week. Where Sun is in Sagittarius. Learning to listen to the messages around us. It takes practice. It takes some of that potential level of imagination to awaken ourselves to the language of life, to the language of nature, always going on around us. We are a part of this, and rightly so. We should be able to understand what is being offered by all of nature for us to consider. That is all that I am going to offer for this particular week. Enjoy the next 3 weeks of Mercury retrograde. Get comfortable with the idea that what you think may not be as clear as what you had hoped for. This is a good week, 3 weeks, to practice your listening skills. Listen to one another. At this time of year, there is magic in the air, all around. You can feel it. People are singing songs that ask our souls to awaken to unique places within. Can you feel that? This week, moon out of bounds. Can you feel that? It's magic. See you all next week. Ciao.